and welcome to the First Global 6 STEM Talk and interview session of the 2020 First Global Challenge. Connecting communities is the season, the name of the game. My name is Sarah Fogel, and I'll be moderating today's talk. Joining us today is a very special guest, musician, tech entrepreneur, and philanthropist, will.i.am. He's the frontman and co-founder of Black Eyed Peas, founder and CEO of the technology company I.am Plus, as well as the founder of the I.am Angel Foundation, which supports in-class and after-school science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics education programs for disadvantaged youth in grades K through 12. Will is a firm advocate for the importance in developing STEAM skills in the youth and has been a longtime supporter of First and First Global. So today we are super excited to have him here today to discuss his perspectives on STEAM and answer some questions that were submitted by students from around the world. We know you're really busy, so we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, Will.
Oh, it's good to be here. It's wish we could be, in different settings and not isolated, and the world shut down. But I'm happy to be here virtually.
It's the best that we can do. During this session, we'll get to know a little more about his work in STEAM, and I know teams are really enthusiastic when we announced that you were going to be our speaker today. We received hundreds of questions in just a few days from First Global teams, and thankfully we were able to narrow them down to just a few questions from what teams were most curious about. So first, we're going to ask you questions about you, and then we'll jump into questions from teams. So the first question about you is, how did you first get involved with First Global?
I got involved with First via Dean. I called Dean randomly one day in 2009, and I asked him if he could give me the ability to, take the limiter off the Segway so I could make it go faster. And because what I wanted to do is I wanted to take apart a Segway and make a new type of vehicle using the accelerometers, the gyros, and the engine. And he was like, why do you want to make it go faster? I was like, well, I want to change the configuration of the vehicle and turn it into a four-wheel. He was like, well, I can help you with all you want, but you got to help me with First. I was like, what's First? He was like, that's the problem. You don't know about First. And you should know about First. First is a organization of amazing kids that compete in robotics every year. We've been doing it for 20 years at the time. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds awesome. He was like, it is awesome. You should come to our kickoff in New Hampshire in January. So I go to the kickoff in New Hampshire, and I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, this is the most inspirational thing I've ever experienced in a very long time. He was like, I want you to help me make it cool. I was like, I can't help you make it cool. It's already cool. The problem is no one knows about it, but I can help you make it loud. And he says, you're playing the Super Bowl, the halftime of a sporting event. Why not play the halftime of the sporting event of the mind? I was like, let me produce it only if I could produce it the way that Black Eyed Peas shows are, and really take what we've done and bring it to St. Louis. And so he allowed me to do that. And then I said, but it should be on TV. He was like, we've never been on TV before. I was like, yeah, that's because no one's taken the risk. So I called ABC and I bought an hours of time. And that's the show that I produced that year in St. Louis. I turned into a television special. And that was like my contribution at First, because I was so blown away by what I experienced in January at New Hampshire at the kickoff. And so that was my first, encounter with Dean. And then my commitment made it to where I've been involved in First every year since then. And now I have about 10 teams in the ghetto that I'm from, and a part of First Global.
Oh, that was a really good answer.
Sorry, I'll keep it shorter next time.
Oh, no, I liked it. So then we'll move on to another question about you. As a STEAM advocate, what words of encouragement can you give teams watching to not stop dreaming and continue working towards their dreams?
Right now is the era of the dreamer. Right now is the era of the problem solver. So the world is being transformed right now, whether we like it or not. And we could sit around and wait for someone else to design it for us. Or the youth, you guys can prepare yourself to be the architects of tomorrow. And that is staying towards that dream of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But to look at arts differently, right? So if you're, I don't know, I want to be an artist. I don't know if I want to be a scientist. I say, no. Be a scientist from the perspective of art. Use science as a tool and create new things. Like art is not always like a paintbrush or a microphone or a drum set or a guitar. Art is mathematics. Art is geometry. Art is computer science. Art is robotics. Like when you think of like an autonomous robot, that's art, right? And whoever told you it's not, they got a very limited perspective of what art is. When you drive down that freeway and you see that overpass, that's art. When you drive down that street and you see that building from and they're giving you that tour and they tell you that building is from 1900, that is art. Because all the fundamentals of what art is, it's like art and science smacked together, physical manifestation. There it is for you to marvel at. That's art, right? It's not just Michelangelo painting. It's not, art is technology. I say compete in that world and design tomorrow. I try to make my answers short, but they just keep getting longer.
I'm just
Sorry.
so inspired. So actually, you sort of just jumped into our next question, which is why do you think it's so important to include arts in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics?
Yeah, so arts is creativity. And by not having arts in there, you leave a whole sector of the population out of the conversation of STEM. And if you inspire, a whole different demographic to look at science as art, they'll solve problems that no one thought can be solved because they'll come at it from a totally different perspective. Imagination is super powerful. And when you are dreaming and using your imagination with, advanced geometry, different disciplines and fusing different disciplines and art at the center of it, it's why we are able to zoom. Think about all the technology behind it. Think about all the technology to make this iPhone the iPhone. It wasn't just a science project. This is the merging of science, art, tech, design is why the iPhone's the iPhone. It's a pretty awesome piece of technology, an amazing tool, and awesome art all fused into one. So why not have arts in STEM when you have the perfect device to explain what comes from that fusion of disciplines?
Yeah, sort of focused on the robots that people build for the competitions. Someone explained to me a while ago that, yeah, you could build it, it could be programmed great, it could, do all the tasks, but if it doesn't look nice, then it's not really a viable solution because it's sort of like when you get into industry, if you create something, it's great, it's awesome, but if it doesn't aesthetically please, people that are trying to buy it, it's not really, you need both sides of it.
Yeah, but then I also understand people's frowning on design that have no purpose or have no function. And I think that's the reason, because our society is drowned in design with no function, pretty with no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I see why it's left out of the conversation. But that's the past. And moving forward, like I said, the world is upside down right now. And it's upside down in ways that last year you probably never thought it was possible, that the whole entire planet, every nation could shut down at once. Now, what does that mean? That means we need you guys. We need the youth to like power up, posse up, squad up, design up, think whole new ways of exchange and interaction and like, trading and love and experience, because Zoom isn't the answer. It's not. So what does that mean? That means like, because virtual is not here yet, it's going to be like the first community that like dreams up the best way that we, come together virtually. And virtual reality is not a rich experience yet. Like VR, e-games, robots, simulations, and a 360 experience. What? Haptic freaking suits that where you feel like you're really there? Well, it's gonna be you guys that do that. Like maybe a person like me thinks it up, but you guys are gonna freaking execute it. Like, come on, guys, look at where we are right now. It's like perfect opportunity to dream some awesome stuff up. Like what right now? Posse up, first squad. Like right now is the time to do that.
So
right
from there, so we're talking about all the teams that are going to create all of these amazing things. They're going to make our virtual realities. They're going to bring it all to life. So we're going to jump into the questions that were sent in from the teams. Starting with a question from Team Malaysia, which is at what point in your career did you start to develop an interest or get involved in the STEAM fields?
It was 11 years ago. I got involved in the STEAM field 11 years ago because I saw that STEAM can transform the ghetto that I'm from, right? Because I realized that the cavalry is not in politicians to come and save the day, because they always promise that they're going to do these things and then never really truly happens. But here's a community where the kids can get involved in, just like they could get involved in basketball. But maybe a couple of people and their lives are transformed by basketball. But in the STEAM field, not only does a couple of people get transformed, but potentially the whole entire community, because that person could then, if they learned in their neighborhood tomorrow's skill sets, and they see what's possible, and they see the opportunities to not gentrify, but transform their community themselves, because now they have the skill set and they think from the perspective of rebuilding and serving, right? People that live in underserved communities, if they're in a STEAM skill set, will realize that they are the servers, because they're serving their own justice, their own, rebuild. There's underserved, and then the other one is like underdeveloped. If you have kids that come from underdeveloped communities that learn to be developers, then they will then have the light bulb moment, like, yo, I'm going to develop my own community. I'm going to transform this myself. Instead of waiting, because one, they're going to become entrepreneurs. Two, they're going to realize how many jobs that they have the ability to fill. And three, they have the skill sets to create their own jobs. Booyah. STEAM. That's the power that STEAM is. It's like, quick muscle build, mental muscle, like, it's like right there. I don't have to wait for somebody to pick it up. I could pick it up myself. Let's go. Let's do this.
I love it. So question 2 that was sent in from Team Estonia. You've collaborated with many artists in music, but would you like to collaborate with other singer-songwriters in the area of STEAM?
I think the best way to do that, the ultimate STEAM collaboration, would be to get Dean to record a song with me and re-record Hall of Fame. That would be the ultimate collab. I'm gonna get Dean to bust down and rap.
Our third question from Team Kosovo was, despite having accomplished so much, what's one project you still haven't done that you'd really love to make a reality?
I have a couple of them. But I'm still working on them. So manifestation is not a quick process. And it's not good to complain about things that are in manifestation. I'm just still on them. So it's not a complaint. It's not a regret. It's a process.
It's in the works.
Yeah, it's like super slow upload or super slow download. I'm downloading the reality now, but it's coming.
Okay, I guess we're all looking forward to it then. Question 4 comes from Team Algeria. So as the co-chair of the World Economic Forum's Generation AI Working Group, how do you think AI technology is helping education now and how it can help the future?
So 2 years ago, when we started the AI Council, we didn't realize how important AI is going to be for educating the next generation, because we're seeing it now, right? When kids are learning from home on a laptop or a tablet, that's not the ideal environment for kids to learn, because the dynamics for a teacher and student, the teacher doesn't have the bandwidth to truly understand little Bobby, right? Little Melissa, like the teacher cannot, right? There's a wall. The emotional cues are off, the attention, the all the different like distractions that a kid has, especially if they're living in like an underdeveloped community. So the school was refuge for them. They left the house to go to school because their home environment was like too much. So AI will be used to educate. We just have to make sure that the biases are squared away and regulations are in place, so kids are not in harm's way learning on platforms that have horrible business models that compromise the integrity of not only their current state, but their future and what they're going to become. So we don't have the regulations in place yet. There's no accountability to make sure the kid is protected on these platforms. Their business models are, right, kind of messed up if you think about it, right? You could go on Facebook and Facebook understands everything about you and your community and all your other data doppelgangers. It could sell it to like an enemy nation and there's no repercussions for it, right? It's called like Brexit. It's called like what the F we're dealing with right now in reality. So imagine like Facebook released like an educational AI tool. No, we don't want that. So we need to like, and I don't want to like, you know, put doo-doo on Facebook sandwich or anything like that, but that's just one case of like regulations and how big companies can, you know, abuse basic things like news. Like if the LA Times or the New York Times or Times printed some false stuff, like you could sue them. If false news comes on Facebook, like they're like, hey, that's not us. And that's wrong because they have more influence than New York Times, Financial Times, LA Times, all the times 1,000. And there's no accountability. So we need to like get our data, accountability, regulations, and that whole like, no, we're self-regulated. Nah. Now when it comes to AI, bro, there needs to be some like, just like, you know, air traffic control. Like, I don't care how much money you got, you can't go out and buy like a stealth bomber. There's regulations on these types of things. I don't care how much you like weapons and guns, you can't go out and buy no freaking tank. Right? There's certain things you just can't do, right? So there should be the same thing for like, you know, regulations around AI to make sure the youth is protected around learning.
Agreed. So, question 5, moving right into the next one from Team Yemen. How can we be entrepreneurs through STEAM?
How can we be entrepreneurs around STEAM? The thing that rhymes with STEAM, and that's dream. Dream of things that, change what it means for the better for society. Yeah. So, and STEAM is the tool to dream up things that that's very Dr. Seuss. So like, okay, will.i.am, that's very Dr. Seuss. I'm just having fun with words, but yeah, dream stuff up.
So sort of on that topic of the younger generation, a question we got from Team South Africa was, what skill does the current younger generation have at their disposal to enable them to change the world for the better?
What skill?
Yeah, what skill does the current younger generation have at their disposal that will change the world for the better?
Every generation that is not like ingrained in the last generation, that's the skill you have, is the skill of true freedom and being native to whatever tool is now. So you're like swipe native, right? My generation is like tap text native. So you guys are like, the internet is like been here at its super powerful state that it's in right now, and that's native for you. My generation, I remember a time, and I don't want to date myself or make me sound like super ancient, when there was no internet. Like 3 years ago, there was an internet. At least it feels like that for me. So you have this, I wouldn't even call it a skill. It's the reality of you're enabled and empowered by the state that the world is in, and it's always at flux. Like for me, because I saw the flux happen, I'm still like, our generation is still trying to hold on to the past. That's the reason why for a while you saw like smartphones with a keyboard on it, because that's just, people just didn't know how to let go of the past. It's like vegan. It's awesome. And you go to the store and you buy vegan. Can I get that vegan hot dog? Like, wait, how can you have vegan chicken? Because you cannot get past the past. So you want to relate it to something. Like a vegan, like beef burger. Like, what makes no sense really. But it's like this conundrum of like, it's new, but I needed to relate it to something. If you get rid of all things that will hold the future back and that's staying in the past, and leverage the momentum of the tools that we have now, and just keep dreaming, keep pushing to better society, and bring equality to the world, equal opportunity for education, like, because that's a gap right now, right? America has some of the best colleges in the world, and no one at the moment can come to America, right?
Yep.
It's a very weird like conundrum. So education is going to have to change, and that's a skill set you have, is like, because you were right smack dab in the middle of it, and you don't know yesterday like what it was like to, if you're graduating high school this year and you didn't graduate high school, you didn't graduate high school on stage, don't let that like be like I didn't do what my brother did. Don't get depressed about that. Look at it like, I'm a generation of new things. My generation, we experienced the first time. So use that, that blessing to be the generation that dreams up next first times. And that paves the way forward for the way that we're all going to do things in an awesome way. Right? It's okay you didn't graduate on stage. That's cool. That's all right. Neither did I. That's because I didn't graduate on stage because at the time when I was in high school, I had a record deal, and graduating on stage, that ceremony, signing the record contract to me was my graduation. And although like everyone else had that ceremony, my ceremony was different. It was liberation. And it's the reason why I live the life that I live now is because of that different ceremony. And you guys have a different ceremony. Don't harp on it not looking and feeling like your brothers or your sisters, right? A lot of you kids didn't go to prom. It's all right. It's okay you didn't go to prom. That means if you have the skill set, there's people that are depressed that they didn't go to prom. If you have the skill set to dream up a new way for future proms that are like fool safe, rain on your parade safe, you are the one that needed to not experience the prom. Like the world needed you. So you got to sign yourself up for that, to be the designer and the architect of these new opportunities. You could choose to be depressed, or you could choose to be, motivated,
inspired.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. You've given us amazing answers, and I hope the teams like them as well. So with that, we are going to conclude today's STEM Talk, an interview. Thank you, Will, for taking this time to talk with us. It was amazing to hear about your perspectives and learn more about all the work that you're doing and all the support that you're doing for all of the future generations and innovators of the world. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with anyone watching?
Yes. Dream big and assemble awesome teams to execute your dreams.
I love it. All right, teams, thanks so much for joining us for this interview as part of the 2020 Connecting Communities Challenge. We hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed moderating. As it comes to an end, we leave you with a good luck and a goodbye.
Thank you. See you guys.